Hello and welcome to the program. Well, again, here we go. There is something called happenstance, something else called behavior, and another thing called habit. Well, I don't know how these three relate, but if you ask me, sometimes they have a way of letting you get a feeling that there's something that needs to be looked at a second time. Do you know that Nigeria is a haven for fake drugs? Even after our dear, may have to rest in peace, Professor Dora Akunyili made startling discoveries, tracing it all the way to India and ensuring that even at that, there was enough effort from the federal government, as it were, through her effort, that is, to fight those who were bringing in fake drugs. But somebody has decided to take it beyond that. He has even decided to put it into a movie and to draw attention to the fact that, fake drugs abound. Fighting fake drugs has to be something that must be taken very seriously. And he's done it in the movie that's called A Place in the Stars. And that person is a daring man called Steve Gukas, a very well-known movie director. And he's here in the studio today. Hello.
Hi, Soni. I'm excited to be on your show.
I'm excited to have you here, man. I haven't seen you in a long time.
It's been a while, really.
Mm-hmm. And when they said you were coming on my show, I said, okay, all right, good. Steve Gukas coming on my show. What story is he going to tell this time? Can you just give us a sort of synoptic, piece?
Oh, yes. Well, A Place in the Stars is a legacy tale that seeks to address that age-old question, why are we here and how will we be remembered when we leave here? And, the story for the film...
That's a very good question.
It is.
How will we be remembered?
When we leave here. And at the core of the film, that's the core message. It's a father-son story set against the backdrop of corruption in Nigeria and the clash of their values. He's a father who's raised his son to believe in a good name, integrity, honor, and all of that. But this son is thrown into a world where, the get-rich-quick syndrome is the order of the day, and people don't really care how you do it. So he's on a quest to get rich or die trying. And he's a lawyer and then gets this case where, if he chose to look the other way, he could make a lot of money, just running this case. Or if he said out what he has found, he could save a lot of lives. Now, that's the moral dilemma that he's facing.
Wow. Now, I'm going to leave that question to a lot of the listeners and viewers later on, because it's something that I'm coming out of right now, looking at some guys. I was just watching, a story. It didn't make sense to me because this man had no reason whatsoever to be in the position he found himself. But then there was a moral question, It's not in your line of story as it were, but there was a moral issue. And how did he now have to draw a line between his moral demands and his professional demands?
Yes. Well, but you see, there's a parallel there as well with Dora Akunyili's choices when she became DG of NAFDAC.
Yes.
Because at the point she became DG of NAFDAC, if she looked the other way, she could have made millions in dollars, and gone on as other people had gone on before her. But she chose to speak up. And in doing that, she was actually swimming against the tide. Her life was in danger. Her family's life was in danger. But so for me, when I encountered her, this was a different breed of Nigerian that I was facing. And I came in to make a documentary on her at that time.
Okay.
And I spent over 10 days traveling with her from Lagos to Abuja to her village. And so I got to see both the personal Dora, and the private Dora, and the public Dora. Wow. And when you do, you could sense that there was sincerity here. It wasn't a show that was being put on. And so for me, that was very, very impactful. And yes, we did the documentary, but I still felt that, I still didn't quite capture the essence of what I encountered. And so I decided to transpose that into the story of the young lawyer who's facing the same,
This is interesting. Yeah. So there's an indirect reference to Dora Akunyili.
She actually even features in the film.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I'd like to urge people to go see it.
How do we... I'm going to look at it. I'm going to see it. I promise you that I've become a Nigerian movie buffer.
As it were.
Yes, I was going to say, is it a cinema scope? how did we used to call it those days? Those widescreen things.
Yes, it is.
Do we still have them?
Yes, it is. It's shot.
Cinematographic.
It's shot CinemaScope.
Okay.
The cinematography of the film is amazing. The performances by the actors are Gideon Okeke, who plays the lead, Segun Arinze.
Well, Gideon as in Big Brother House those days?
Yes.
Big Brother
yes,
Nigeria.
Yes, yes.
Oh, yes.
So
He's
he
become very good.
He is. And as an actor, he's quite versatile as well.
yeah.
For someone who, this is the first lead he's playing and in his first feature film, he actually carries the entire film, because in the entire film, there's hardly, I think about 2-3 scenes that he's not in. But other than that, he's in nearly every scene in the film. So to carry a film like that as your first feature, and to do that quite the way he's done it, I give kudos to him. Explosive performance by him. Fantastic performance as well by Segun Arinze.
That's my boy.
Yep. And Dejimo Louise is in there as well.
Oh,
and
the village headmaster.
Yep. And he's as scintillating as ever. Lantana Ahmed from Kokora Dawn Days.
Yes.
Matilda Obaseki, Amakambo, Femi Branch, and Yemi Black are all in the film. So fantastic
These are my great
performances.
actors and actresses. Eh?
Fantastic performances by all of them. And
How
then
long did it take you to put together?
this movie took about 7 years to put together.
I beg your pardon.
7 years, but it took 7 years for 2 reasons. One was the way it was funded. The entire budget of the film is slightly over $1 million.
Okay.
And that wasn't money.
Nollywood has arrived.
Well, you could say that. Now, that wasn't exactly money we had in one go. So we had to do it in tranches. So that explains part of why it took time. But also, the second reason why it took time was how we wanted to execute the film. So in terms of the production values that we put in the film, it's the first film in Nigeria with an authentic car chase and car crash sequence. So that's
For real?
Yeah, for real. So that's in there. So that took a while to set up.
Now, I'm a bit curious. I wish this is something we could see. But anyway, let's just get a reenactment, if you like, in words this time.
Well, listener can also go to the YouTube page, which is A Place in the Stars, and check it out there as well.
Yeah, I want to see. Well, let's start with the speed racing first.
Okay.
The car chase, you said.
The car chase, yeah.
Are there roads on our roads that, or did you try Ekpe road?
No, this was shot in Abuja.
Okay. And so you blocked off all the
We did.
highways there?
We had strong cooperation from the city of Abuja, because they allowed us to block the road.
Good.
And we had the police who also cordoned and kept watch for all of that sequence.
And you had stunt drivers?
We had stunt drivers.
Professional stunt drivers?
We flew in professional stunt drivers from the UK. The stunt coordinator and the stunt team came in from the UK.
Black or white?
White.
Huh. Okay.
Okay. But in the staging, you never get to see them, so don't worry.
Yes. Okay. That's what I was wondering.
No, you never get to see them.
Okay.
It's staged and shot in such a way that every time you see someone in the car or in the cars,
well,
you would
it's
see
the real
real
star.
actors themselves.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's what we did. But so that's one of the things that
How
we
did
did.
you manage? I'm sorry, I'm going to take you. Let's concentrate a bit more on this first. But how did you manage the sequences that had to do with screeching, to a stop, avoiding brakes, hits, and all that? Yes.
Well, this is what we did. First, I sat down with the graphic artist.
Okay.
And we basically designed every single frame of the crash sequence.
Okay.
And then once we had done that, I did my blocking and we did that. And then I sat with the DP, so that he can then choose.
By the way, DP is director of photography.
Yes. So he can choose the type of gear that he'd require to hang the camera, suspend it to get the different kinds of shots that we wanted.
Okay.
So he did that. And then we sat with the stunts team when they came in to say, well, this is what we want to achieve on paper. What's realistic? And then we had that meeting, the DP, the stunt coordinator, myself, and we worked out the movements and everything. And once that was worked out and blocked out, then it became easy to execute.
What about the crash scene?
Well, the crash, and again, a la Nigerian style, this had to happen one take. Now, usually what would happen, where you have the money, is that you'd have the stunt car and you'd have a double for the stunt car.
Okay.
So you do some of the sequences with one car and then do the other sequences with the other car.
Yeah.
But we couldn't afford that. So we did it in literally 2 takes. So the first take, so we had to have multiple cameras now shooting.
Yeah, so you now pick from different directions.
Yeah, so what you don't have in passes, you have in coverage.
Yes.
So we had that done in 1 take, where we had 3 different cameras driving with the car at the same time, all on different suspensions. There was a crane, there were carpools, and all sorts of things that we fit in onto the car. And then that happened in 1 pass. And then on the second pass, you would see there's a shot where the cars literally drive past a camera that's been put on the street. And that's a really, really fantastic shot that you see.
Okay.
And then after that, we did the final pass, which was the final crash in itself. And what happens is the other car nudges the other one off the road. And what we had designed was a ramp. So the car that is nudged off the road screeches and goes onto the ramp and takes a turn. You know, so that's
Oh,
how
I wish
that
I had been
sequence was
there. Oh
designed.
boy. Okay, all right. Let's go to the main story now. Let's bring it back to this issue of fake drugs in Nigeria. You know, when I saw that as your focal point, I was worried, but I was excited at the same time. You see, we just self-medicate here, and we don't even know the efficacy of some of the drugs we take, and yet nobody is even making an effort to at least sustain the effort started by Professor Akunyili. And then secondly, if I take a medicine or a drug, I should be able to ask myself, am I taking the right thing? And how do I know if it's fake or not? How did you put all these together in trying to determine, for example, a chemist shop, if he has?
Well, you see, the issue for me, the fake drug, is actually metaphoric of where we are as a country. To the point where, because that's the lowest I believe you can go. As Dora says in the film, it's worse than armed robbery, it's worse than HIV/AIDS, it's worse than all the malaria and the rest put together, because there are different ways all of this can be sorted. But when you now go so low in your quest for money, to the extent that you would put something out knowingly into the market, knowing that, that at the point anybody needs this, they're probably at the point of life and death. So literally, you're a merchant of death. To the point where you choose that as how you want to make money is the lowest of all lows. So as a country and as a people, how did we get to that point? And how is it that we find that moral balance to still carry on knowing that that's what we've gotten to?
Nigerians, are you listening to the phrases he's using? Moral balance. To find that moral balance.
You know, so that for me is the issue. So the drugs in themselves, or that trade in itself, is metaphoric of where we are. But yes, it does worry me as well that that was the situation in the country. At that point, 16% was how low Dora had brought it down to. But for me, 16% is too high. In fact, 1% is unacceptable.
Yes.
And it still is the situation today. So we still have that level of corruption going on, and we all just look the other way. And we keep talking about change, and at the core of the movie is the message, be the change you want to see. And there's a line in the film that strikes me every time I watch the film. I've watched it several times through edit, through post and all of it. But there's a line where the guy says, you know, he's just lost his and someone says to him, what is it? And he says, well, I can hear a voice speaking to me. And he says, what does the voice say? And he says, it says to me, if we all waited for everyone else to change before we did, then change will never come.
We're going to take a short break now.
Meet one of Nigeria's famous batik designer, painter, textile designer, art educator, and gallery owner, Chief Nike Davis Okundaye. She is known for her colorful batik and paintings that offers a modernist gloss of traditional themes.
Woke up early this morning with a smile on my face. Thought you were next to me, but then I see you walking away. Something right this morning. Is it a sign he's leaving me? So I call on a friend whom I know better than me. She says, you worry much about things you don't understand. up if it doesn't go with the plan. Wanna have some fun while you're still young and still okay. Cause life is short, do what you can today. Why can't we be happy? Ooh, 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 ooh. Why can't we be happy? Ooh, 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 ooh. What is life about? Did nobody tell you? The reason why I ask, I can see you're so confused. Oh, you worry much about the things you can't see. You have it all, with your money, you still complain. Why not live this life while you're still young and still okay? Cause life is short, do what you can today. Why can't we be happy? Ooh, 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 ooh. Why can't we be happy? Ooh, 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 ooh. Tell me why can't we be happy? Be happy. Ooh, ooh. Why can't we be happy? Yeah. Bye, 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 bye. Hey, yeah, hey, yeah. Bye, 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 baby. Tell me why can't we be loving? Ooh, 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 ooh. Why can't we be smiling? Ooh, 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 ooh. Why can't we be leaving? Ooh, ooh, ooh. Tell me why can't we be smiling? Yeah, yeah. I know why can't we be happy? Yeah, yeah. Oh, why can't we be happy? Why can't we be loving? Yeah, yeah.
Here we are, Steve Gooker's A Place in the Stars. Why that title?
Well, again, it's about, we all have this quest for immortality, and I sort of see stars as that expression of immortality. And the only way you can earn immortality, which is the figurative representation of stars for me, is in the memories that you leave behind. It's in how you are remembered. There are people who have amassed untold wealth and have passed on, and no one remembers them. And there are people who have had nothing at all, but have left such indelible marks on the sands of time that generations will always remember them. Now, in terms of when you're looking for longevity and immortality, which would you choose?
Okay, that's a very good question, Which will you choose? But do we have enough conscience? Now go back to your phrase, moral balance. Do Nigerians exhibit enough conscience? Because it appears that those who are visible and who influence decisions in society, or who are constantly in the eye of the storm, give or take positively or negatively, are the ones charting the destiny of the country.
Well, unfortunately for me, the malaise is deeper than that, in the sense that I have this phrase where I call it kidnapping any part of the system that you can, and you leverage that for what you want. So the president has the power to give oil wells and all sorts of things. That's what he's kidnapped. That's his leverage for negotiation. You cascade down to the ministers, it's the same thing. Cascade down even to private organizations. That's the way it is. And so within the strata, everybody else finds a part of the system to hold ransom. So you go to government offices, and even the security people at the gate have held the gate and parking space is ransom.
So everybody has become important in his own
Well,
comfort
everybody's
zone.
found a part of the system to hold ransom, which they use for their negotiation. So you get to a building, and they say to you, "Oh, there's no more parking space," and you're struggling to park outside, and some guy drives in, and the gates open. Now, because he always gives, he pays the ransom, so he always gets the service.
So we're in a taxed
So
society,
it's
whether legitimately or not.
So even the people who are kidnapping people are kidnapping that so they can get their own share of the system. It permeates deeper than just the leaders. So it's a national rot that requires strong will to solve.
You think this can be solved in a day?
Well, you see, that's where the challenge is. It might look so huge that you want to give up, which is why we say change, it begins with you. It's one person, one heart, one mind at a time. So you be the change you want to see. Don't wait for everybody else to change. If you change, you would inspire change in other people.
If you change, you will inspire change in other people. Well, thank God this is Inspiration
Absolutely.
Radio. We try to inspire change in other people. And in doing that, I want to ask you, if you're listening to this program, send us a text on 33923, or if you like, send us a tweet on IFM 923, and of course, Soni Irabor on Facebook or IFM on Facebook. Just because in another 7 minutes or so, yes, thereabouts, you will be having a chance to speak to this very enigmatic, very creative human being, who I've found to be extremely philosophical too, in his very simple appearance. By the way, why the white goatee?
Well, you know how you're always wearing jeans and t-shirts, and the young boys think you're their mate. So you leave something so they know that you're not their mate.
So you are now wrestling your own size of the corner. The corner.
You know what it is.
You must get your respect when it is due.
You collect it too.
But okay, let's go back to Nigeria. Drugs, habits, and patriotism.
Yeah.
Where would you rate the patriotic sense of the average Nigerian?
At the moment, I would rate it at about 3%. 3 out of 10.
3 out of 10?
Yeah.
30%?
Yeah.
Oops. Why?
Well, because the bad things that people hear or get about our station or about our country actually comes from us.
True.
So if we loved our country and placed it first before our geographical expressions, for our tribal expressions, if in all the countries of the world where those countries have made progress, citizens of those countries always place their countries first above every other thing. And until we learn to do that as Nigerians, we're going to have the same problem that we're having at the moment. There's not enough love for country.
So some people say we are overcritical. Others say we're not, how's the word now? We're not showing sense of belonging. If you look at those two, being critical and showing a sense of belonging, do you see them coming side by side?
Almost an oxymoron. But the truth is, you need to have a sense of both. Critical in the sense that if you transpose this to the sense of family, no matter how aggrieved you are about your family, when things come that outsiders are now concerned concerning your family, everybody closes ranks. If we only did the same for country, now it doesn't stop you from being critical. It doesn't stop you from speaking out.
Okay.
But it doesn't help when you put the country down. When you critique, you do so out of love, out of concern, out of the desire to see progress.
Okay.
That's all right. But when you put down, then you don't help in any sense at all.
So, here's somebody who said, it's rather surprising that we're still talking about this, that's fake drugs, after supposedly great work done by Professor Dora Akunyili. And this came from Olusegun Ayeni at Sheson Ayeni.
Okay.
What's your reaction to that?
Well, I agree with him absolutely. But the reason is we cannot rest on our oars because what's happening is that it's not been totally eradicated.
Okay.
There are new steps that the current DG at NAFDAC is putting in place, which I think is ingenious. But it's still, the fact that steps are being put in place says to you the problem is still there. And the truth is, this permeates everything. It's not just drugs. There are fake everything else you want to find in Nigeria. Fake phones, fake whatever. Everything fake exists.
Even the clothes we wear.
So you see, that fight transcends just drugs. It's a national issue, spanning several areas of our lives.
Do you believe in Nigeria?
Absolutely.
In what
Absolutely.
way would you show how much sacrifice you can make for Nigeria?
Well, I think that my greatest sacrifice for Nigeria is in using the gifts that I have as a person to try and move Nigeria forward.
Okay.
One of those gifts is the ability of a storyteller. And the stories that I choose to tell are stories that I believe, engender conversations that move the country forward. A Place in the Stars is one of those. I write songs and I'm a very musical person. I have put together 2 albums now that purely just celebrate Nigeria and, seeks to...
You have 2 albums and you didn't bring them here? This is a radio station.
You know how it is. I will send you. I will send you those.
Because
you got me.
Would have played it on Soni Irabor Live now.
Because, I didn't know that I could influence the playlist. And when I got in here and you said to me, what songs do you want played? My head just went zing, 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 if you had your songs. But then I don't have them here.
It's all right. I mean, you're multi-talented and we can see that you also multitask. If we're looking at Nigeria let's look at Nigeria from 3 tiers now: leadership, followership, and the onlooker, who could be, of course, the foreigner, if you like, or the one who leaves his body and and begins to see his body, as it were, as if he's floating and seeing the inside of it.
Out of body experience.
So,
I think the onlooker is more dangerous in the sense that, and it's a major problem with Nigeria, in the sense that unless it touches you, it doesn't affect you. So you let it be, it has nothing to do with me. But the problem is that sooner or later, it consumes you.
Yeah.
So we're having that same thing play out even with the Boko Haram thing that's going on at the moment.
Yeah.
There's a sense, in the people in the southern parts of the country to think, oh, that's a northern problem. But sooner than later, if the northern problem is not fixed, it would become a southern problem. And I think Helen Habila captures this very aptly in his book, Waiting for an Angel. Where the entire story is about this guy who, until the thing hits him, he always thought it was another person's problem. And as long as it's another person's problem, it's not your concern.
It's not.
And so the likes of Ghani, the likes of people like him who stood up at every point in time to challenge whatever they thought was a problem that nobody was speaking about, become a necessity for Nigeria. And if we all now, both the onlooker and the followers, engaged at that level, we will push the leadership to do the right thing. And that's the only way.
But where do we get this feeling that the leadership is so in control of itself that it cannot be swayed by the people?
No. But the truth is, the leadership only gets away with what we allow. What we do not allow, they will not get away with.
So in effect, we shouldn't just be quiet.
No, we shouldn't. There's no sitting on the fence in this. 20 how many years of dictatorship in Burkina Faso? 1 day of standing up by the people.
He was actually begging.
And he was begging. We do not realize that the power is with us, the people.
Okay, we're going to take another short break now. And when we come back, we'll be looking at some music and then taking your calls.
In Lagos, Nigeria, come here. This is where the party's at.
And we have a caller already. Hello.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm fine. My name is Iye. I'm calling from Lagos.
Your name is Iye.
Yes.
Hi, Iye.
Hi.
Iye Jonathan?
Yes.
Hey, how are you? Go ahead.
I'm good.
She was on this show before.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Well, I'd like to say congratulations to Steve on this great feat about this amazing woman that blessed us years ago.
Thank you, Ye.
Yes. I just have a quick question and a comment.
Okay.
I just like you said, it took you 7 years,
Yeah.
get the funding and to complete this project.
Yeah.
What advice do you have for people who are, doing similar things, coming across, different challenges, especially in our environment, where you're trying to do something and you feel like you're swimming against the tide? What kept you going? And what do you advise to keep
Very
people
good
going? Because
question.
sometimes you kind of get tired.
Okay.
So that's my question.
Okay. I assume that's even outside of film, right?
Yeah.
Yes, even outside of film,
generally.
just in general.
Well, it's I would say just tenacity and focus and a belief in what you do. Because I find that if you really believe strongly in what you're doing, you would move mountains to make it happen. But outside of all of that, it's just resilience, tenacity. I would say look to building networks and synergies that would help make what you're doing work. Because sometimes what you don't have in money, or in fact what you don't even have in knowledge, another person would have. So if you try to create synergies, you would find that that's very helpful as well. A lot of what we did with this film, we got a lot of in-kind support that you that made it very possible for us to do this. Without it, would have been very difficult. So you look at what you need and look at people around you and see what is it that they have, and always go to them with a win-win proposal. Not just I beg you, but if you did this for me and if we did this together, this could be what would come to you. People like that when you approached them having thought of what could be in it for them. And it takes understanding what it is that they are doing as well to be able to do that. So I would say really, 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 synergies are the way to go.
Okay,
strong collaboration, yeah.
Excellent. That's very helpful.
Okay.
So I just want to make a quick comment, if you don't mind, on, when you were discussing why Nigeria, the need for Nigerians to be more patriotic and the need for us to put aside our ethnic and tribal sentiments or whatever it is. So we definitely need to do that. But there's also a challenge for the Nigerian state to make it attractive to actually be patriotic. For example, in Nigeria, the only way you get appointments at state level, federal level, is based on where you come from. So no matter how you try and avoid and run away from this ethnicity and take on the Nigerian mantle, at every level from the top to the bottom, when it's president, it's time for these people or from that area. So those things reinforce those ethnic and tribal divisions. Whereas if you're, let's say, in the UK or in Switzerland, you get arrested, right? And you're about to be deported. It's very challenging for the Nigerian government, as a Nigerian government, to come and stand behind you and push for your own rights.
Oh, wow.
You know what I mean? So there's also the challenge for us as a Nigerian state to make it attractive to be a Nigerian, as opposed to making it more attractive to be a whatever, Yoruba, Hausa, Fulani, East Ethnic, Ijoman, or whatever it is. So that was my comment.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And here we go. Hello.
Yeah, good afternoon. How are
Good
you?
afternoon. I'm fine. How are you? What's your name?
Is that inspiration?
Yes, so Inspiration 92.3. Soni Irabor live.
Mr. Akunyili.
How are you, sir?
I'm fine.
Good.
Am I on to Soni Irabor?
Yes, sir. You give me a start.
Okay, Soni, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. Go ahead.
I've been listening to what you're saying, Sam,
Yes.
but I have a comment.
Go ahead, please.
My comment is about Nigeria and patriotism.
Okay.
Currently, I'm writing a book, and the title is Leadership Disaster.
Ouch.
God gave all nations different disaster, but what He gave Nigeria is leadership disaster. You cannot talk of patriotism when you have leadership disaster. The leaders chant cough, and everybody follows. But when we have leadership disaster at every level of our national life, you cannot actually ask anybody to follow. All right. And that you say, show the people the light and they'll find a way. When we have leaders who are self-centered, who just want to destroy the nation for their own selfish reasons, you cannot have it. Like we have Boko Haram today, but there are people in this country that investigated the Boko Haram issue. It's not a Nigerian issue. It's an international matter. They finance it to destroy Nigeria. And the leaders are not ready to kill into the real thing. They are looking for themselves, fighting themselves. APC will say PDP, PDP will say APC. And they are there, the front killing us. I know, are you there?
Yes, we're here. If you can summarize quickly.
I'm talking to you here. I have documents I have channeled to. They said they gave money to kill me on this Boko Haram. It is not, it is the West financing it for heaven's sake. Let's be frank with ourselves. But I'll keep quiet. When I finish my book on leadership disaster, I will bring it to Inspiration FM for you to analyze it and then give it to the world. God bless you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Hello.
Thank you.
Hello.
Yeah, Soni, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Hi, sir. Good afternoon, our guest.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, Soni.
Yeah.
There's a problem, really. And my happiness is that with you, we will be there, my brother. I like our guest there. Dora Akunyili, sometime I meet that woman at Enugu as a function. It's about 8 mobile police men guiding that lady. I said, why? This is somebody who wants to stop certain things. From that Agolo, where the woman come from, did they shot that lady, Soni? I was on that road.
Sometime they shot at her. Yeah, they shot at her. That's true.
Yes. That evening, I was on that road. I said, why? What did the lady say? She left a function at Ekulobia area, Aguata local government, telling the traditional rulers and the government officials there that your sons are the one bringing this big drug, and I will not allow that. You know, now we're going back to Agolo. That thing happened that evening. I asked myself, why? Those people who do this, if they started thinking one thing, after effect, in whatever one does, I don't know if they think about that. You mentioned Burkina Faso, what happened in Burkina. It can't happen here. Most people speak one voice. Just look on our road, Lagos Road here, the way we drive. At times, I ask myself, what is happening? He's telling on me, doing the right thing. I know it's not easy, but he's really telling on me, but I don't bother. When I hear people like you discussing, I know there's hope. He's really telling on me, Soni. If I go to filling station during the queue, I queue up. At times from 7 o'clock until 4, 5, I will not get. But somebody who comes less than 10, 15 minutes will get well and go. When I ask them, say, are you not a Nigerian?
Oh my God.
It's failing me a lot, but I know we will get there, my brother.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Well, you've heard the sentiments being expressed. It's a hot one. And I was almost going to say, I hope I'm not guilty of that jumping queue. Oh my God, that would be a disaster, They say charity begins at home. Heaven helps those who help themselves. You really have to start from somewhere to leave an example that will make others want to know that you are serious, and so you can be taken seriously. But what's your comment about their comments?
Well, what I would say is that we should quit being so despondent.
Okay.
I believe that there's strong hope for Nigeria because we're too endowed to fail.
Amen to that. We're too endowed to fail.
And to take on the other gentleman who spoke first, talking about how, or actually even going back to EA, who talked about the tribalism and all of that.
Yes.
The epitome of that is where you see traditional rulers gather and go to meet the president of a country and say, please release our son who is in jail for killing somebody else.
Even though the son is guilty.
It's guilty. So that kind of warped thinking.
So that honestly is a disparaging, very, very arrogant disrespect for the rule of law.
Good. So that is where the problem is. And I think that there are 2 things that can solve that for Nigeria. One, at the top of my list, is that if we could remove this thing about where are you from, indigenization, and actually enact a law that says, if you have lived somewhere for a
this
certain
number of years,
yeah,
I mean, it's an international law.
You should be from that place. Because we have another level of Nigerians that are so disenfranchised, they would never be leaders under the current scenario. Say, for example, somebody born in Jos, where I'm from, who is originally from, say, Benin, right? But his great-grandfather or his grandfather and his father, so he's third generation of that family in Jos.
And so probably never been home.
And yes, and all the taxes that his family has paid has benefited Jos and Plateau State.
Yeah.
But he can never stand for an election in Jos. Why?
Whereas Nigerians are now in the house of the British Parliament. Our guest last week said that.
So we need to change that. Because when we change that, because that guy, if he left Jos and went to Benin, nobody knows him.
Yeah,
so he can't
true.
even contest in Benin.
No, he can't.
So he's actually stateless.
Wow.
So we need to change it. That's on the one hand. On the second hand,
yes,
the ways in which our political parties throw up their candidates would never allow for the right kind of leadership. So we need independent candidature.
But you have to have good records shown about your capabilities, how good you are as a patriot, as an individual, as a law-abiding citizen.
Well, you see, but then that becomes you and the people. Yeah. Because the truth is, when PDP or APC get together and do all of their, whatever they do to throw up their candidates, we as Nigerians are forced to live with those candidates. To choose one of the two. It may never
be the true representation, that's what you're saying.
So if Soni Irabor doesn't have to go through PDP or APC or UDP to become a candidate, then we have the option of having people like you who, if you went into politics, might never get the mandate. Because what it takes to get that mandate, you will not do. So at the point where that happens, then we would have Nigerians who are no longer afraid of the process because they can stand on their own merit and be voted for or voted down on the strength of that.
On that note, we'll take another break for the message is very important. Here we go.
I feel like I'm floating through existence. I feel like I'm living after time. I feel like I'm forced to break the silence. Is that a crime? Is that a crime? I feel like we're all following shadows. And shadows that don't know where to go. I feel like I'm waiting for tomorrow, while today wastes away. It's not that I don't know, it's not that I can't see, it's not like I haven't noticed, it's driving me insane. It's not that I don't know, it's not that I can see, it's just the way I feel, it's just the way I feel. I feel like a child without a father, and mama tries, oh Lord knows mama tries. I feel like the world is on my shoulder. I wonder why, wonder why. I feel like I'm not the only one who's frustrated. I feel that something's going wrong, I can't escape it. I feel that the destinies of those are meant to be the best are in the hands of liars. Now the world is on fire. It's not that I don't know, it's not that I can see, it's
Welcome to the program, Soni Irabor, live on Inspiration Radio, the only family radio station, the only station that inspires you, the only station, according to Steve Gukas, that inspires change. Hey, yippee! What a program, what a station. Anyway, Steve, there are questions coming in here. Somebody is saying, her name is Toyin, and he said you took the words out of her mouth about Boko Haram, and that in the South, people in the South should not show lack of concern. They should not be unconcerned. And so, but what else do we do apart from praying? That's what she's asking.
Okay, well, prayer is key, it's very important. But outside of prayer, what I see every day is a continuous disparaging of the government and everything. And I'm not being a government apologist, but the truth is that we are at war.
Yeah.
And the government hasn't been bold enough to say that, but that's the truth. We are at war. And during that time, we need to all close ranks. And support.
Come together.
Come together. That's what we need to do. So we need to show as
and this
much.
thing should start with the parties, you know, instead of this divisive thing. They should all come together.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, it's a hard one now because it's happening in an election in a year leading to the elections, and everybody's trying to find a way to differentiate themselves. And the truth is, except in very few cases, most presidents have never lost elections when they are at war. Because somehow sympathies tend to be with them, in order that they are able to prosecute the war well. Now, whether this government is handling the thing well or not well, I'm not in a position to speak. I'm not a security expert, so I can't, opine anything on that. But what I would know and what I would say is that we do need to support their efforts. We do need to uplift them in our prayers and uplift them with our words as well.
Okay, hello.
Hello?
Yes, how are you?
Sonny, I call back.
Okay.
You might just mention independent candidates.
Yes.
I've been campaigning for that.
True.
In my local government now, the person that the people want to go and contest for us, the so-called leaders of APC, they have to bring one lady from nowhere to come and, take over the debate. And this is a man that people in this our Surulere constituency want to go for House of Assembly.
Yeah, but hello. Yeah, but then the point is, if a party presents somebody, that's their prerogative. That's why if there's independent candidacy, all well and good. Let the person register. I don't think I don't think INEC refuses to recognize that. I think it's in the Constitution.
No, it's not quite ratified yet.
It's not ratified yet.
No, not so. No, it's not. It's not
okay.
yet.
All right. I don't chew my words, eh? Ignorance is a disease, so I will do my research better.
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah, please. They should allow that free and fair one. They say they are Democrats. I mean the APC. They should allow people.
Okay. Well, I don't want to encourage singling out any particular parties. So let's leave it at that. Okay. All right.
Okay,
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Allow the free and flow, whatever.
Okay.
Internal democracy, they should allow that.
Okay.
Let's choose people who will go and represent us. Not by this godfatherism, bring somebody from nowhere.
It's okay. It's okay, Chris. Thank you so much. Thank you. All right. So, hello. How you doing?
I'm fine. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Go ahead.
Yeah, I've been listening to the show, and I must confess, it really inspired me. I'm trying to be a producer, and I have a movie I'm trying to produce, but I would want his opinion about it. I don't know if I can get his number.
Okay, Steve, he's listening to you.
The movie is about jungle justice. I see he's pretty passionate about what is really going on in Nigeria, and I think we have that in common.
Okay, well,
so if I could just...
So I don't share my number, on air. I would leave my number with the producers of Soni's show, and then you can get it from them.
Okay, so after this program, you can call again, all right?
All right, then. I would really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, then. Right. Yeah. So, and that's somebody was already looking at you as a role model. Now, if we look at the way we are going, the followership, I'd like you to comment on that again. We talked about leadership. I gave you a 3-tier, so I didn't quite get the response on followership.
Yeah. Well, the thing with followership is that the leadership is pulled out of the followership.
Now you've created mathematical jingoism in my head.
So the leadership is actually a reflection of the followership.
Okay.
So where there is change in the followership, it would seep into the leadership. Because the truth is they don't come from another planet.
Let's take this call. Hello. Hello. Okay, we lost it. I'm sorry about that. Yes.
So they come from amongst us.
Okay.
And so if as the followers, we all just look at ourselves and change the things about us that we want to see changed in the country.
Yes.
Each one doing it in their own sphere, we would then be building and generating a populace of followers from which good leaders would emerge. But I think that even more stronger is the need to look at the younger ones coming up.
Okay.
I think that...
Hello. Hello. How are you?
Oh, good afternoon.
Yes, go ahead, please. Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Yes.
The area I want to emphasize on is about the law in our nation here.
Law in our election year.
In our nation.
In our nation. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, in our nation is not active. And that law that is not active warrants inequality to the human individual people as a people. So it warrants inequality.
Okay, you are saying that there should be law that gives equality to everyone.
Yes, to human. Law that gives right and quality to human.
Fundamental human rights.
Yeah, you can imagine what happened to a state. The same law that is saying that somebody who has been, who has a default from the court cannot recontest the election as a governor of the state. And it's the same people who are in charge of the ministry and also collected money and also give him appointments to contest as a governor. This thing that is happening in our nation cannot happen in any other country.
Okay.
Are you getting what I'm saying?
Yes, thank you so much.
This same thing that is happening in our nation is the reason why the people who are in federal government appointment, they are there for their own personal choice. They enter there, they go to the street, they write their name. They don't care about the individuals in the street. They don't care about the nation entirely. So they are there for their pocket. I think the president has to do something if we want this next election. He should position any body.
Okay. All right. The noise in the background is so much, but I think your point has been made generally. Okay. Hello. Okay, I lost that as well. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. He's made his point, and I think Nigerians are quite vocal. And talking about followership, the followers actually are expressing their fears. What do you have to say?
Well, there's something I always say when I speak, that the fault really in us, or what's wrong, the difference between, say, I've lived in the West and now I'm in Nigeria. And the only difference I see between the West and Nigeria is the value for human life. That's where our problem is. Okay. When we learn to value the human life, then we will do the right thing by that human life. The entire system of the West rotates around the human life, protecting it, uplifting it, making sure it's lived at its most ultimate, and making sure that it finds expression in all its ramifications. That's what makes them different. So, but here, even you, who is the owner of the life, sometimes does not value it to the extent where they say, oh, do not do illegal connection.
Yeah.
You go and pull illegal
the danger
connection.
Inherent in touching a live wire.
You go and do that, or you go and pull it into your house, knowing that it's faulty connection and could burn down your house. Or they say you need to change your tires in your car over a number period of time. The things that you should do to protect your own lives, you don't do. So where the system now respects and values human life, then everything about the system would be done to protect that human life. I'll give you an example where you keep hearing where they say, oh, the road to this place is not fixed. And the government comes out and says, well, the son of the soil was given the contract and he ate the money. And he travels through. And he travels through that same.
He was not arrested. Was not tried?
No, let's even forget the arrest. From a very selfish point of view, that is the road to his village, or that is the road to his state. And that's how he has to get to where he's going. And yet he has taken the money, he's eaten it, he's bought a jeep, with it
which can now defy the bad road. Okay. And that is where we have to end this show. My goodness. You see, they say time flies when you're in a very nice company. The show is almost over. Oh, it's over. My God. Well, Steve, just one last word for Nigerians.
Well, I'm here to promote my film, so I'll get back to that. Place in the Stars is in the cinemas from Friday the 14th of November, through till Christmas and into the New Year. I would like to urge people in Lagos to go see A Place in the Stars. It's a fantastic film, and you won't regret going to see it.
And so this is how I say thank you for being with us on this show. I always remind you that without you, we don't exist. That's one point. Secondly, do not forget to always listen to us, so that if we don't do the right thing, you remind us, hey, come on, what happened to you? So this is a message that my brother Nosa is saying. And as we say that, GETTV, you never forget GETTV, because they are partners in progress with Inspiration FM on Soni Irabor Live, and they are shown Tuesday, 8 p.m. on channel 129 Startimes. And then, of course, on Sunday, 1 p.m. for the repeat broadcast. If you want to see Soni Irabor Live visually on TV, and you want to know who Steve Gukas is, then watch GETTV on Tuesday, 8 p.m. So thank you once again.